Just be quiet and listen. And on the left, Mr. Bob Tullius in Donald. Coming by a nice low pass, and it looks like Bob's all ready to push that throttle down. You're seeing the B-17 and now the P-51, perhaps two of the most recognized icons of American air power and American freedom in the Second World War. Top speeds beyond 430, 440 miles an hour. Ranges of more than 2,000 miles. Able to take on the best of what the Luftwaffe and even the Japanese could be able to put at them. Tremendous amount of firepower and a tremendous amount of horsepower. High to your left in the mist there, see another one coming right at us. And the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, actually listen to the different sound of that engine, powered by another inline, the Allison engine. Of course, this is the same kind of engine that powered the Mustangs when they first came out. A good engine, but a little low on horsepower. What the P-40's weakness was altitude. The higher it went, it lost performance. What happens with the Mustang, of course, is the V12 Packard Merlin engine increases that performance and altitude. Well, what the enemy used to do to those P-40s is just take them up, because the higher they could get them, they could outrun them, they could outmaneuver them. You just weren't able to do that with a Mustang. There really wasn't an Axis fighter that was produced that could outperform the North American P-51. Oddly enough, as much as the P-51 is associated with America, it was actually originally designed and built for the British. The British were trying to replace the Spitfire. The Spitfire was getting a little long on the tooth, a little low on tower, it was a little power, going through a lot of different developments that it was trying to have. and North American was able to design this project in a very short period of time. So it was actually originally a British design, but of course it also was produced in huge numbers, 12,000 of these aircraft produced during the war, and able to become just a great American fighter plane that it was. And we're going to recover the fighters right now. If you've noticed the visibility getting a little worse, the pilots do too. We're going to recover some of these aircraft right now just for the pure safety of the ceiling coming down. We're able to enjoy the takeoffs. Right now we're able to enjoy these great landings. This, of course, is a tremendously difficult time for the pilot to bring that aircraft. Watch him touch that on the main wheels. He's going to carry that tail down and hold that nose up for as long as he possibly can, pushing forward on that stick and then gradually just letting that airspeed come off and bringing that tail down. Making the pass right over our heads again, another shot of that Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, again so associated with the Flying Tigers, the volunteer group, that AVG, the American volunteer group, fighting against the Chinese, defending the Chinese against the Japanese. That terrible period in the beginning of the war, when American resources were still not at the height of the power in that region. A small band of volunteers that became known as the Flying Tigers actually went over there and fought back the Japanese off of that Chinese territory, and actually kept the Japanese from moving into those areas. Did a tremendous effect on the war, and they had a very distinct vision, especially if you talk about icons of American power. You talk to Chinese people today that remember that period in history, it's this airplane, it's the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, that meant so much to the Chinese people, because this is the airplane that saved them from the Japanese overrunning them in the very early stages of that war. Bringing it down on final, just gently tilting those wings. You notice the landing gear on the P-40 Warhawk incredibly close together. And that makes that a very, very difficult airplane to land. Very easy on the speed. Every aircraft is going to land at a certain speed, and again, just going to touch down on those main wheels and gradually ease that power back. Hold the tail, kicking that right rudder pedal, keeping that straight and level down, and gradually let that tail bring itself back down to the ground. And of course, once the tail's down there, your work is just beginning. Because as soon as that tail wheel is down, as I said earlier, that tail wheel just wants to kick itself around. It's something that's known in aviation as a ground loop, and you never want to experience this as a pilot. Airplanes are not supposed to be spinning when they're on the ground. And it's just a great skill. In fact, being a tail dragger or a tail wheel pilot is considered such a difficult or a different thing by the FAA that even if you get your pilot's license, you still have to get what's called a tail wheel endorsement. Ladies and gentlemen, and even though it's a Packard Merlin, even though it's 2,000 horsepower, go ahead and give him a cheer, because I'm absolutely certain he can hear you over that propeller. And what an appropriate name for this aircraft. I mean, what else would you call a P-51 Mustang except glamorous gal? And another nice sight. I know it's hard, you don't know where to look, but if you look quick to the left, another great sight, P-47 Thunderbolt coming into touchdown. Notice the wide landing going on that P-47. The pilot appreciates that wide stance on the landing gear, bringing the jump back. Ladies and gentlemen, there's the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. Go ahead, give him a wave, give him the World War II weekend cheer. These guys can hear you, ladies and gentlemen. Just gotta make some noise. They can hear you. And Bob Shula is coming back, and that P-51 Mustang, I think that's the last one back there. I can't see him yet, but I think that's Bob Shula is pulling in. Alright, now let's wait a second, because this P-51 Mustang is going to come in. Eric Miller is going to taxi him in. He's just going to let those cylinders cool down for just a minute or two. And he's got a gauge in the cockpit. He's going to let those cylinder temperatures come down. And as soon as he shuts that engine off, we're going to make some noise. We're going to make the most amount of noise that we have made today. And ladies and gentlemen, let them hear your appreciation. There's that British Spitfire coming back. And I guess I could say that was a bloody good landing, Jerry. Bringing that aircraft down, get a little squeal of the tires, letting it roll out, holding that tail up, letting that tail drop down now, letting that roll out, just using that runway to reduce that airspeed. And again, Jerry's going to be able to attach to that aircraft right back in front of us, get a great view of that beautiful Supermarine Spitfire. Say thank you for the people that never came home. They didn't get to come home and see their sweethearts. They didn't get to come home and buy their house. They didn't get to come home and grow old and enjoy the United States of America. They died instead. Because they died, we stand in the United States of America today, free people. Ladies and gentlemen, just a nice round of applause. Make as much noise as you can, just to give a chance to say thank you and for why we're here. And I'm going to ask everybody on the grounds right now to just join me a second and stop walking. Some of you are walking, I'm going to ask you to stop. I'm going to ask you to remove your hat.